Good evening. It's 6 o'clock. I'd like to call a regular meeting of the Board of Trustees to order for January 12th, 2026. Supervisor Coleman is absent tonight. I need a nomination to seek for President Pro Tem.
I nominate Sue Morrow.
I would second that.
Right? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carried. It's all yours.
We'll call the meeting of the Plainfield Charter Township Board to order. And we'll have the invocation from Mr. Hagedorn. Thank you. And the pledge, and he'll lead the Pledge of Allegiance.
Shall we pray? Heavenly Father, we thank you that we're able to meet together tonight. In the midst of the turmoil and lack of peace in our nation, and in the fragility of our own hearts, we know that because of your unchanging grace, we have secured our peace in your presence. We ask you in this meeting for clarity in our discussions and unity in our purpose for the betterment of Plainfield Township. We ask this in Jesus' name, amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We'll begin our meeting tonight with the public comments. Just to review quickly the rules for public comments, the comments are limited to 3 minutes, and there's a countdown clock that will be up on the board. No individual can speak more than once. The public comments are not a question and answer period. Please be respectful of other people. No abusive, obscene, or irrelevant comments will be allowed. And I wish, if you wish to make a comment, just raise your hand and I'll recognize you. And then you go over to the podium and please state your name and address. Are there any people here who'd like to make public comments? Go ahead. Thank you.
Can I be heard now? Yep, I can be heard now. I am Irma Kirchis, and I have lived up Belmont Road on off South Street in that area since 1978, in 2 houses there. Recently, there were 2 new houses put in, one at the bottom of my property and one at the same level over about 100 feet. After those wells were put in, I started having much more sand. I've always had some sand, much more sand in my water. So my son and I decided that since my well was put in 1987, that we would get a new well. So he went to the health department and we hired a well driller, and the well driller backed out and he said they wanted $60,000 to put in a new well on my property. I am going to be 81 years old in less than 3 months, or 4 months, whatever it is anymore. And I don't have that kind of money. And I need some help here. I know you'll contact me, but that's a fact. Thank you.
Thank you. And someone will contact you, Irma. Any other people with public comments? Please go ahead.
Gerald Stepanovich, 4666 Weber Street. In context of the previous speaker's statements, are we, and I know I made this mention, and it's not a question and answer period, and I understand that, but any more thoughts on a previous comment that I made here a couple months ago about making public the Preen and Newhoff records? Where are they looking? What are they looking for? We know what they're looking for, excuse me. Where are they looking? What is the findings of those investigations? And exactly what are we paying them without having to go out and reach out for a public records request? I think with the situation of the township water that we are all going through, I think that would be, the onus would be on the board to release those records to the public of free will, or we wouldn't have to go search for them. And that's all I have to say. Thank you.
Anyone else? Peter? Oh, he's the only one I can call by name.
My name is Peter Lutzman. I live at 4250 Valley Hollow Drive, and I want to share some news with the board. Many of you know David Rideau. David was very active here in the community for many, many years. Some of the younger folks really don't know, but he was on very many boards and commissions, has given much of his life to the township. David passed away. David died a few days ago, and he's survived by his wife and some children, some grandchildren. The funeral will be tomorrow down the street, Blessed Virgin Mary, and visitation is at 10 o'clock, funeral is at 11 o'clock. I thought the board should know.
Thank you, we appreciate that. And also, within the last month, another servant of Plainfield Township has passed away. George Meek was the township supervisor, and I believe he was also on the planning commission at some times. And interestingly enough, George Meek and Dave Rideout both served on the planning commission together. Are there any other comments, public comments? Okay, we'll move on to the agenda. Are there any questions, board members? A motion would be in order.
I move to approve the agenda, including the consent agenda and accounts payable.
Is there a support? Second. Mr. Hagedorn? Any discussion? All those in favor, roll call vote.
Mrs. Beatty?
Yes.
Mr. Hagedorn?
Yes.
Mrs. Morrow?
Yes.
Mr. McKellar? Yes. Mr. Pfaff?
Yes.
Mr. Erminga? Yes. Motion carried.
Thank you. And moving on to new business, we should just turn the floor over to our fire chief and see what he's got on his mind.
Sounds good. Good evening, board, and thank you for allowing me to come up and talk about the fire department this evening and moving me up on the agenda. Seems to be pretty easy. There you go, Jen.
Oh,
Should
now
be
you
able to-
shut them all off. Oh,
Go. So I hope you all did your homework. I provided you 122 pages to read.
Yeah.
In all honesty, I wasn't expecting you to read the entire thing, but more importantly, Frank, I expected you would.
Well, if we're going to spend that kind of money, I think.
Absolutely. So I think that's very important to understand is what we're actually going to spend money on. We need to be transparent, and that is one reason why it's there, is because it is a thick document. First, want to start by saying, we put a committee together about 6 months ago. The committee is the 4 individuals standing right here. This wasn't me doing the legwork. It was them. As you can see on that packet, there was a lot of information there that we needed to go through to make sure we've done our due diligence. to provide the board information on what's best for this community today, not 32 years ago when we bought what's on the presentation up there. So as you're all aware, you've met me at the fire station. We have walked through the fire station. The current truck is 32 years old. It's at its end of service life. I think we actually gave it a couple extra years beyond what it should be. We're currently spending about $30,000 a year for the last few years just to maintain the current truck that we have. And last year alone was out of the service 65% of the year. So it is that time. On top of that, we're unable to actually certify the ladder, so the ladder doesn't work. And we're currently using the truck as a service vehicle to use the ground ladders that are in the back, so the ones we just pull out and put up on the side of buildings. So unfortunately, it's that time. This team was given an agenda for me to figure out the needs. What do we need as a township going into the future, and what do we need currently right now? And then find an organization or a company that could help build us that truck. So like I said, our main objective was not to just buy a truck, because that would be the easy thing to do. The main objective was to figure out the why. And so we did a lot of research on figuring out, what kind of trucks are out there. There's trucks with buckets, there's truck with boom, there's truck with just a ladder on it. We reviewed our current needs in the community, so apartment complexes, commercial properties. We wanted to make sure that what we buy is going to work for the current building stock that we have. We also met with planning and zoning to identify what's going to be the future, because the truck that we buy, we're buying it for the next 25 or 30 years. In reality, I'd love for it to last another 32 years, but things change in the world. So in reality, we're looking for something that's going to last for the minimum of 25 years. So that was one of the things that we looked for, is what could the township potentially do that will determine the size of truck that we need for sure. And then we reviewed basically our current response plan. So our current response plan is that we just changed it actually this year to incorporate more of our neighboring agencies into how we respond to fires. This truck right here, built 32 years ago, we had a lot more paid on call, a lot more part-time coming in. They could pull that truck, get it out real quickly, while the people that were staffing the stations could take the engines that didn't have a ladder on it and get to the fire first. We no longer have that capability with enough people volunteering to come in and work for us, where we need a truck that can be pulled first, not second. And with that means we got to look at what our staffing is to make sure we can operate a piece of equipment with the people that we have that are actually working on shift. And so I'm not going to go down that whole list of items, but the things that we looked at in comparison was our response plan. The different things that we needed was a truck that could be first out, not second out, which is the way it currently is. The ladder size, so the length of that ladder, we needed it to be 75 feet at minimum. We actually partnered with Grand Rapids City, and they sent us up a ladder truck, the one similar that we were looking at after we've done our needs assessment, and we strategically went to the different buildings in the township to see that it would actually work. The type of truck that we wanted, as I said, there's a bunch of different types. We need one that just has a ladder. It does not need a bucket. Interestingly enough, we're looking at our community and around us, a lot of them have buckets already, and they're longer and a lot larger that we have now on our response plan as second due coming in. So we don't need to have I'm gonna say the cost expense, as you can see on the bottom of this, coming from Plainfield Township. We need maneuverability. There are some apartment complexes, multifamily structures in the township that we have very difficult time getting that ladder truck that we currently have into and out of the area, no less in an emergency response. So what we need is a single axle, and I'll get pictures for you to show you the differences here. A single axle ladder truck that can be maneuvered, and as you can see, the next line, personnel needs with 2 people can be easily set up. In reality, there are some days where we operate with 2 people at the station, and that's what we need to have, is a truck that can be operated with 2. Our current truck is a minimum of 3, optimal of 4. So when we're talking about how big this thing is, that's the reason we're kind of downsizing a little bit, is because of our staffing that we have available, and we know that what we want to buy can still work and maneuver around in our current area. The water, how much water the truck carries, everybody asks how much water is in our trucks. We're actually going to double that. We're going to get a smaller truck, but it's going to be a double amount of water inside the truck. In reality, this truck is going to be an engine with a ladder on it, not a ladder truck with a pump with a little bit of water. So we'll be able to have those capabilities. Same size pump for the insurance service office. And then at the bottom, you'll see the differences in price. So our current truck today, if I was to get the exact same thing, you're looking at $2.5 million. The truck that we're looking at, and we would offer to the township tonight to put in a PO for, is $1.5 million. And a lot of it has to do with the makeup of the truck, the size of the truck, the axles of the truck, all the above. And so that's why we're recommending what our need is on the far right side. It's not the middle. So what does that look like in pictures? As I mentioned, you guys have all been to the fire station. So this is the current truck that is, as I said, it's out of service. The ladder does not work on it anymore. You can see it's got 2 axles. It's very large. It's got a bucket on the end. And again, this one takes optimal 4 people to operate. We can do it with 3, but 4 is really where it's at with that truck. So when we look at what we need, what the community needs, not what we want, is something similar to this. It's like an engine with a ladder truck on top of it. You can see it still has an elevated master stream on it. It's a lot smaller. It's more maneuverable within the community. And in reality, I think it will do a better job now than what we needed back in the day. Because most of the communities around us now are starting to get the bigger trucks that we just simply don't need to have. And this will operate better within our community. Any questions on the truck before I move to how we determine the manufacturer? I think this is a good time to take a pause. I've given you a lot of information.
Board members, questions? Jack?
Not at this time, thank you.
Bob?
Not this time.
Chief?
Oh, I'm good.
Thank you.
Kathy?
I just have one question. The current reaches 95 feet and this one reaches 75. So
Correct.
we're reducing. Is there a reason for that?
A, it's as a cost factor, and then B would also be, we don't need a 95 foot. So the reason to have Grand Rapids come up is they brought up a 75-foot ladder truck for us. 95, they don't even make them in 95 anymore. It's 100 or 107. You're looking at anything 6, 7, 8 stories in height, and different setbacks. And the township currently, in talking to planning and zoning, the setbacks aren't going to impact with a 75-foot ladder, and we don't anticipate, the only place you can go up more than, I think, 5 stories is what planning told me would be where Rio Grande sits. So the whole intention was bringing Grand Rapids up was to make sure that the truck that we are looking at for that length would actually work in our community. So we can get a longer one, but it's going to cost you the money. So we're trying to be money conscious as well, make sure that what we have is going to work. So you're welcome.
Frank, any questions? Not right now. Okay. I think I've asked this question before, but just to clarify, perhaps something good has happened. Is there any recycle value in the truck that we're getting rid of?
There might be, but I can get to that in a minute on the next slide.
Oh, I'm sorry. I honestly did not know that.
It's not a whole lot. I think I've been told maybe 10 or 15,000 at the most, but it's not a whole lot.
Okay, moving on to the next slide.
Moving on. So this group has done an awesome job helping me figure out the manufacturers. I have never spec'd out a fire truck in my entire life. I've been in the fire service for a long time, gone through a lot of ranks, and I did not come with that knowledge of how to do this. So this team has helped me quite a bit figure out the what's and the where's, and then obviously the who's and the building the relationships with the manufacturers. So this is busy. I don't expect you to read everything, but the left-hand side is the manufacturer. What we're looking for is we're obviously need a truck sooner than later. And so some of the manufacturers that we reached out to, we sent them our, I'm going to call it our RFP, our bid, and it said this is the minimum specs that we need for our truck. And the company doesn't really matter on that one side, so I'll make it a little bigger for you. But we also realized that we needed a truck sooner than later. So time is of the essence. The delivery time is important for us. Estimated cost obviously is important for you as board members to see what we're looking at. The maintenance is how much we expect to purchase or to spend on maintenance costs throughout the lifetime of the apparatus. The residual value, so this goes to what might be left maybe at the end of the life cycle of the truck. Ours is quite substantially less because we're beyond our life cycle. That's the problem. Most places get rid of their fire trucks about 15 or 20 years, and we were lucky enough to be able to keep it for 32. And then the estimated service life on the right-hand side, which I think is important. So when we look at the estimated cost, estimated service value, to me, those are the 2 biggest things. And then when you take those into consideration, the delivery time of the truck. We did not go with the number 1. Number 1 was my favorite. It was the most beautiful truck I've ever seen in my entire life. But you're looking at 60 months or 5 years build time, which we don't have time for, and an estimated of $2.21 million for that truck, for the same looking truck that you just saw on the slide a couple minutes ago. The one we decided to go with was the second one down. We believe we can get a truck within 9 to 12 months. It's not to exceed 1.5 million. I quite honestly think it might become in lower than that, and I'll explain that component to you here in a second. Maintenance costs seem to be a little bit cheaper, and the residual value as well is up there, and the service life is 22 years, although I do think we can, it's not gonna run like a bigger city fire truck, so it will last a little bit longer than what we're finding here. So the two that are unknowns, those are, we got information from people. We didn't go seeking their information. It's a certain group that we're trying to stray away from. There's a lot of legal stuff going on with those two brands, so we stayed away from there. And then the bottom two were two other companies. One, after sending an RFP, failed to respond back to us, so the information came from another department from reaching out and said, hey, we like that truck. How much did that cost you? What's your value? So some of that information came from there. And then the other one is one of our current manufacturers. So with that in mind, see what you're saying, what's the residual value? The residual value for this truck is a little bit higher than what we would see in the other ones. I will tell you, some of the group took a ride. Once we determined the brand that we wanted to, we took a ride to the manufacturer. We wanted to see, what is how are the people working? Are they happy? Are they mad? Like, it really matters to us. I've been doing inspections before I became the chief, and you can tell when you walk into a manufacturer how well they're going to take pride in their equipment by just interacting with the members that were actually working on the trucks. And we got to witness from a piece of sheet metal all the way up to a truck being delivered to a community every step of the way when we were out there. We're 3 days, I think, we spent out there. Very impressed by the company, very impressed by the culture of the organization. Reached out to different chiefs as well and said, how's your interaction with the company? Very positive. The other thing that we were very cognizant of is we got a nice truck built. How do we keep it maintained for the lifelong of the truck? It's supposed to last 22 to 25 years. And that was some hard questions we had with the manufacturer as well as, how are you going to help us maintain this truck? And they were able to answer some really difficult questions. What they didn't know is one of our members here used to work at a fire truck manufacturer, so he knew exactly what questions to ask. And Brian, I'd be wrong, they answered the questions very well, didn't they? Absolutely. So that really kind of helped us whittle down the manufacturer and who we wanted to use. And that really comes down to how the programs are for getting that truck within that 9 to 12 month time when everybody else is 60 to 26 months. And what it comes down to is Pierce Manufacturing. Our goal is to get a truck from Pierce Manufacturing, the 75-foot ladder truck. They have what they call a stock program. So we did the same thing with our two engines that we just had from Rosenbauer. They have stock ladder trucks. There's no other company that we were able to find that has a stock ladder truck, because they're typically custom builds, which take those extended build times. So they have cookie cutter fire trucks. We went and drove one, went and looked at one, went and set one up, climbed a ladder. When we were out there, their stock program is, as I mentioned in the memo, I need a PO to submit to them. They have a list of stock trucks that come out monthly. If there's a stock truck on there that meets our spec, which is the one that we showed you, they'll make a phone call. We got a stock truck. Do you want it? Yes or no? So from that time you say yes, they're recommending that it'd probably be about 6 months that truck will be done and delivered to the township. So I'm estimating we'll give it 2 months or so to see where we're at, to see when they got a stock truck. Part of us going out and visiting with them was to build those relationships back and forth with the leadership. We met with the leadership team, the vice president, the president from the company. They were fantastic. They were awesome. Followed up with emails. They obviously replied back. They want our business. Plainfield Township, to my knowledge, has never had this brand of truck. So we're looking at maybe changing different brands too. So they're heightened just to help us out to say, hey, you know what? Look, we haven't been there before. Let's help them out as well. So the stock truck program is how we can get a truck sooner than later. Secondly, if the stock truck program does not work out, I've got a backup plan. The backup plan is the city of Walker and the city of Grand Rapids are both looking for the same truck that we are. So we've already met with them and said, if we don't get a truck within the next cycle, we can partner up in collaboration, do the same thing. Pearson will take that as a stock program and they'll build 3 of the same trucks, different paint scheme, so to speak, but it'll be in the same manner, so we get the same exact truck. So we've done a lot of our homework here for all of you tonight. Like I said, it's been a 6-month project. You saw the big packet for spending $1.5 million. I want to make sure that you guys know that we've spent our time and due diligence to make sure it's going to work effectively for us, as well as, more importantly, I think, for the community. We're not going to set the community off. The other thing we're looking for is approval for expenditures not to exceed $200,000 for equipment. What came on that truck is, a lot of it is still on that truck. And so unfortunately, we just need to replace some of that equipment that's on it. And so our estimate right now is about $200,000 to replace a lot of the loose goods that might be on that truck. Fans, saws, you name it, it's gonna need to be replaced and come on that truck. So the reason it's not to exceed $1.5 million for the ladder truck is because we don't know what the stock exactly is going to be. It could come in with a couple different options on it. It might be 1.35 million, it might be 1.45, but Pierce has assured us it won't be over 1.5. So with that, I would love to take any other questions that you might have from me.
Okay. Questions for Kyle? Bob?
Yeah, I do. This is intriguing because I'm kind of a car guy and, you know, I hear about different custom things that you buy. Why is it such a long construction time for these? Don't they have like a standard template? They build maybe 3 or 4 of them and then bolt the other stuff on it. That's kind of how I vision it. They don't do that?
Yeah. So the stock program, a little bit about Pierce Manufacturing is they've recognized that there's an issue in the fire service. And the issue is everybody wants their own truck, all custom. And what it's done is it's created extremely long times for build. So that's what they're doing now is the cookie cutter thing. But they literally take it from a sheet of metal and they move it through this process to build these trucks. When we were there, they had a hiring, they were trying to hire 300 people and they had 400 people coming in to do the hiring. So they're trying to build up to make sure that they can meet the demand. They want to be leaders in the fire service of building the stock program. So yeah, most companies don't do that anymore, and that's why you have the long time, because they're literally going to stencil out where every tiny thing goes in that truck. And they just want to be able to stamp it now.
All set, Bob?
All set.
Jack?
First of all, I appreciate your attempts to save money. One of my questions was, considering the level of detail, would that limit the ability of companies to bid? But evidently it has not. And when you talked about the similarity between this truck and, say, the Walker truck, that probably increases the ability of companies to bid. So I appreciate that.
Can I talk to you just about that 1 second, Jack? The one thing we did different than we have in the past is we did not create this huge piece of, I don't know, this monster RFP, right? What we did is we identified what our needs were first. So what it became down to was a 5-page document. This is what we need. Sent it out to the organizations. They then created this up. Well, this is what you need, but here's extra stuff that we could then go through. So it's really innovative in my opinion of that. And some companies just didn't even reply. So that's how we were able to get what we did a little bit sooner. Is we didn't give them a whole big old page to read through, and it was surprising how some of them replied, and some of them were like, nah, no, thank you. So yeah.
Cool. I noticed you have a steel frame. Any concerns with rust?
I'm glad you asked that. So we got to actually see how they do the steel frame, and they dip it into, I forget the name of this material. So they have a material that they have, only Pierce has, where they literally dip it into this material and they bring it out and they let it dry, and that maintains the rust. Well, while we were there, we got to actually talk to the engineers and talk to the builders and the people that are actually doing that process. They provide us guidance how to maintain that steel frame. So I can share with you between steel and what's the other stuff they're using, Brian? Galvanized, which we got to see how they did both. I 100% would go with the steel because of the process that they're using to make sure that it's protected. The galvanized had some, I'm gonna say, flaws in it. When they do the galvanized first, they dip the whole thing and then they drill holes into it. And then they go back and try to, put whatever they dipped it in around it. That's where we have issues. We do see that on some of the trucks now. And it was kind of interesting to see that process and go, oh, now I see when I was crawling underneath that truck 10 years ago why it was rusting. So I have no concerns with how they're doing it because of the process that we physically saw.
Appreciate that. You don't have any delivery guarantees in terms of time? there's just estimates?
There's no delivery guarantees on anything nowadays. Their estimates are, they're telling me 6 months from the time we basically hit the go button. Honestly, I'm telling you 6 months. I initially was telling him it's going to be 9 months, but we're pretty much, it'll be, as soon as they say go, it's between 6 and 9 months. So that was one question that we did have the lawyers review this as well, and that was one question that they had asked for me as well. Hey, you know, there's no guarantees. You'd be hard pressed to get a guarantee from any company nowadays, but talking with other people that have gone through the stock program, I think we're pretty good on that time frame.
Okay, and one more question. I know we're talking a lot of money here, and I also know that not all townships have ladder trucks. And I also know that we do mutual aid a lot with other townships and cities. Is there any kind of arrangement for this particular truck to have a fee for it, to recoup some of that money? Because you don't get these kinds of fires very often, and when you do, yeah, mutual aid is one thing, but they can't provide mutual aid for a ladder truck because we may be the only one that has it. So I was just wondering if maybe some innovative way of getting some chargeback.
Certainly. So mutual aid is mutual, so we have to make sure that we can provide services back and forth. So like for Cannon, we don't have a boat. We provide a ladder truck to them. A lot of the departments around us, Grand Rapids has their own ladders. They're not calling for the ladder. Alpine's calling for the ladder. They provide us manpower when we need it in return. Where we can recoup the cost is we have an investigation program. So we will provide some investigation services to determine what the cause of the fire was. And we've had a lot of success recently of finding fires that are actually caused intentionally, and we can recoup our costs based on machine or apparatus at that point. So we've had quite a bit of luck on that. So if one of our trucks goes anywhere, like say to Alpine, if a ladder truck goes there, we can recoup our costs. The costs are different depending on the cost of the machine. So ladder truck's $1.5 million, where the engine's maybe $850,000. That cost is different within our fee structure within the township. So we do recoup some costs in that manner. But other than that, it's mutual aid, and I don't know if I'm not going to say legally, I'll stop short of that, but I think we'd have some challenges if we were to start charging to send a ladder truck because we do request a lot of services back.
Okay, yeah, and I understand that. It's less of a business arrangement than you would have in other arrangements. So I understand that too. Okay, thanks.
You're welcome.
So I appreciate all the work that all of you've done. I looked into Pierce. They've been making vehicles for over 100 years. They have very high ratings, so I was happy to see that. They do all the work in one place, so I appreciate that as well because sometimes you can just get too many cooks in the kitchen. And what else? Let's see, warranties. What else? I'm trying to remember. Let's see that. Why don't you come back to me? I had other questions. I should have written them down, but I didn't, so.
I can pinch off of that too. 95% of the truck, the parts and pieces are made in the United States, which is hard to find anywhere. So 95, that's a high number. And then they explained to us a lot of the functional parts are made in Michigan. So we're also helping a Michigan company as well.
Okay, I remember. Also, the third-party inspection. I like the fact that the inspection is being done not by the manufacturer, but somebody separate. I like that accountability. So that's all I have right now. Oh, yeah, okay, that's good.
Kathy?
I don't know if you're finished here or if you're moving on to how we budgeted for this, and I would love to go over that. I don't know if that's you or if that's Jen.
That's going to be the finance department. I don't know if you want to speak to that, Jen.
Yes, we plan to set aside $500,000 in the capital budget this year, and then we're planning a multi-year investment on that. We're currently evaluating what our funding structure is going to be for this, whether it's the use of unreserved fund balance, if that's available, or if it pushes us too low in our threshold. We're also looking at some financing mechanisms that might be available, and then also some additional revenues and resources that we might be able to identify to be able to fund the purchase. So we plan on bringing a budget amendment back to you, but it's important for Kyle and for the team to get in line so that we can start this process. We know that it's a necessity. and that we really need to have it, moving forward. And we have the confidence that we will have a financial recommendation for you.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Kyle, where is Pierce located?
Appleton, Wisconsin.
Okay. And how old of a company is it?
Oh, 1913. Yes.
1913.
Yep. It's a family-run company, too. I mean, just the people were phenomenal when we went and visited them. They were genuinely nice people.
And without putting your finger, don't point to anybody, but was there unanimous consent on the choice of this vehicle?
Yeah, so we let the information lead us to what manufacturer that we wanted and what vehicle we wanted. We went in there, even started with, do we even need a truck? Well, yeah, we do. There's certain places that we need to have one. So we went into it with an open mind, and by the time we got to the end of the needs assessment, we had what we needed, and the manufacturer just kind of stuck right out.
Thank you. Any other questions from anyone?
My turn.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
The most,
Oh,
I thought maybe you were just protecting Kyle.
Gloves on.
So
now the real
sorry.
grilling
Yeah.
begins.
He has a new hat on. I have to get used to that.
Said you'd be nice.
I apologize. The former chief would like to have a chance to speak. Go ahead, Mr. Clerk.
Okay. I know that truck, the present aerial truck we have, it's one of the biggest headaches we had with it when I was chief and now with you was preparatory parts. How is that? How is Pierce on that? They use
So I'm going to be honest with you. I went into this thinking proprietary parts was the worst thing in the world. So we went out to Pierce, and that was one of the biggest questions that we had with them was, tell me about your proprietary parts, because we don't want to deal with that. Some of the reasons you're having problems with proprietary parts is because they're not making them, or they just stop making them, or they cancel whatever contracts they had with people. So Pierce does have proprietary parts. What they do, though, unlike many other manufacturers, is they have a line that all they do is they make the parts for the warehouse, and the other line, all they do is make parts for the trucks. So what they're not doing is they're not robbing Peter to pay Paul, basically, with parts. So we went and also visited their parts warehouse, and their goal is to have 90% of the orders that come in to wherever they need to go within 10 days. Now, that's their goal. They're at 97% of the parts within a couple days, and that's when the truck is not out of service. So say this truck goes out of service because there's a part that we need. We call them up. They basically say, yep, we've got one on the shelf, which they've got everything on the shelf. I can share that with you. And they get it out within next day air. So they've gone so far as building partnerships with UPS, where they're now the last stop of the day. So it's 3 or 4 o'clock. Their UPS stops. They're given all the parts that need to go next day air. They're out the door and they're gone. The reason that they're using proprietary parts, and I can see it, to be brutally honest, with some of the trucks that we have, is every truck has a proprietary part. Every truck has pieces that are built for that specific brand and that specific truck. When you start putting off-brand parts and pieces on these trucks, that's when you start having some problems. And Pierce has a brand that they want to make sure that they're maintaining, and they want to make sure that this truck lasts 22 to 25 years. The way you do that is unfortunately through proprietary parts. What this truck doesn't have is the computer system. That's the problem with everything. We have that option. We've decided to go with just the straight basic hydraulic system without all the computer headache. So does it have proprietary parts? Absolutely. Do I think it's imperative for that truck to maintain proprietary parts? Absolutely, if we want to make sure that it stays 22 years or above. Do I think they have the capacity to give us the parts? Absolutely, I think they do. I say that to say 8 months ago, no, they probably didn't. This company's brought in engineers to basically look at every single thing that they're doing and trying to move forward and be a leader in manufacturing in the fire service. And then I'm going to tell you from visiting out there, they're 100% doing it.
And also, I want to commend you guys for what you did here. I know what the headache is going after a truck, taking the peer pressure you have from even your own colleagues in the department. But I'm proud of you guys that you went and made it a community-first piece of apparatus. So thank you.
Sounds like the end of questioning has been reached. Anybody feel inclined to put a motion on the board, on the table?
I want,
Oops, I'm
may
sorry.
before we do that, I am all for this, 110%. I just want to understand once more the financing. I know in the paperwork it said we had committed 500. But speak to me again and clarify for me how we are financing this.
Yes, so we are looking at a couple of different options on how those funds are available, whether it's an additional resource or revenue that we identify, whether or not we. If there's some opportunities where the township could increase revenues, and so that's one option. The other option is we could do financing through a bank for a multi-year investment. So it would be much like a car loan, structured differently based on this, but where we could spread payments over multiple years. Or if we identify, we have some fund balance that might be available. So we're evaluating those three options. We're confident that we do have the funds available. We will need to do a budget amendment at some point. But we really want to get in line and get moving forward so that we can have this ordered. We will not owe them any dollars until we actually accept the vehicle. And so at that point, we will know the final price on it.
All right, yeah, just a little uncomfortable
So
with the finance.
I think you answered my question, but so we're not putting, like you would say, a down payment. When will Pierce, I mean, they're not going to build the whole truck for us before they ask for any money, correct?
No, they are. They absolutely are.
That's the stock program.
But,
They
so,
build
but
the
we
truck.
have to commit to,
So what you're doing tonight is you're authorizing the township to spend up to $1.7 million for the purchase of the vehicle and then the additional equipment. And at the point of which we actually accept the vehicle and equipment, those terms of payment would be necessary, so.
so yes, I know what we're doing tonight, but
Because it's a stock program, so it's much like you can go and buy a Ford 250 off of a parking lot. And so they have customers in line, communities across the United States that want to get in line for this. And so that's the reason for bringing this for you tonight as we continue to evaluate those financing structure.
We say tomorrow that I don't want this truck, they're going to sell it to somebody else. There's no question about there's that much of a demand.
okay.
We
All right.
don't have to pay it until we get the truck,
But we still have to pay.
until we receive it.
I just want to make sure that we,
Okay. Yeah, it just seems like they'd get to a certain point building, okay, they're 95% done. You're saying there's such a demand that even if they're 95% done and we say, hey, we don't want the truck, they can just sell it to somebody else? Is that kind of what you're saying?
Yeah, like I said, Walker has got two, Grand Rapids wants one, and we want one.
Okay.
It's all the same truck.
All right. So that was kind of my question. Okay.
I had one last question.
Okay,
Going back on my FEMA knowledge, I remember learning about this. There's a program, I just looked it up, it's called the AFG program, it's a federal fire prevention program through FEMA. Has anybody looked into that at all?
Yes, we have looked into that. Chances of getting an AFG grant are almost slim to none, especially with communities our size, with the budgets that we have. I wouldn't recommend trying it. We could try it, but it's very slim to none that we would even qualify for it.
thanks for suggesting it though, Bob.
Absolutely.
Jack, did you have something more?
Yeah, a comment on paying for it. The whole idea of financing or getting money for a truck is part of a bigger issue, which we're all aware of, which is one of financing our government. And that's why it's coming to us at a different time so that we can have an overall plan for that. Does that help things a little bit?
It does for me, Jack. Yes, thank you. Thank you for explaining that.
Additional questions? A motion would be in order.
I'd like to make a motion to authorize the fire department to submit a purchase order to Reliant Fire Apparatus for purchase of one ladder truck in the amount not to exceed $1.5 million, and to further authorize the additional amount not to exceed $200,000 for associated equipment, tools, and supplies necessary to place the apparatus in service.
Is there support?
Support.
Any discussion of the motion, additional discussion of the motion? Then a roll call vote, please.
Mr. Reminga,
Yes.
Ms. Beatty,
Yes.
Mr. Hagedorn,
Yes.
Mrs. Morrow,
Yes.
Mr. McKellar, yes. Mr. Pfaft.
Yes.
Motion carried.
Thank you, board.
Thank you for your work.
Thank you.
Great job.
Moving on to our published agenda. Our superintendent isn't here, but we have comments from the assistant.
Absolutely. So I just do want to extend my gratitude to the team that put together the proposal for the fire truck. I know it was a monumental task, and I really appreciate that, as well as the focus on being good stewards of our township resources, so thank you. I also want to welcome Brian as our full-time, now he's moved from part-time to full-time, and just joined us the beginning of January in that role. So Brian, welcome, and thank you for sharing your knowledge. He's been with us for 10 years as a part-time firefighter, and just took on the full-time equipment operator position. So thank you and welcome. Yep. And just two other quick things, switching to monthly utility billing. I only get three?
No.
We'll combine them into one. We're in the process of switching to the monthly utility billing, so that'll start to go out January 20th. And then we're also rolling out our Pay It program, which we did for property taxes, and that'll go live. We'll do a soft launch of that this week with a big push from our communications manager, Krista, next week on that as a tool. So hopefully our residents are finding that useful, and we're seeing a good adoption rate for property taxes, and hope the same for utility billing. Yes, sir. That's all.
Thank you. Thank you for filling in, too. Board members' comments. I'll give you the honor. Mr. McKellar.
Good.
Yes. You are all set?
All set.
Oh, my
Had a
goodness.
slow month.
Bob,
I'm a man of many words tonight. How about that?
good for you. Jack?
I'm fine, thank you.
Kathy?
Well, I'm going to say something.
Okay.
Northview wrestling coach, Andrew Stepanovich, forgive me, I probably ruined his name, was inducted into the Mental Health Hall of Fame for his support of his wrestlers, and I think that's pretty cool.
Very good. Thank you. Frank?
Normally, it's all township business, but on Thursday, I became a grandfather for the first time. So,
Good for you.
you know, I get a chance to do it right this time.
Thank you very much. I don't have any additional comments other than to just remind the board members that you are invited to serve coffee at the senior luncheons. Please be sure to pick one of those dates and go offer your services for that. Plainfield Township supports the senior program through assistance for the cost of the leader and also the cost of the building itself. And whenever there's a difficult moment at the senior center, they call us. So I think it would be really important to go serve coffee down there. Any other questions, comments? Then the meeting's adjourned.